reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Why am I starting the show with a MAGA accent? I don't know. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. Pushing the limits on a Wednesday. Yes, it is hump day. And I appreciate all you guys being here, PTL Nation. You know, I feel like we've developed a very large family. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she was like, man, you know, in the chat, they're just really... vibing with everybody, and it's like a big family. I said, yeah, it is. I'm proud of that, PTL Nation. So we're on the YouTube Super Chat. If your questions and comments would like to be heard live on the air, I know some people out there, they're not comfortable calling in, particularly MAGA supporters, by the way. Usually they're afraid to call in. Quite frankly, I don't blame them because I always embarrass them on this show. I will tell you, it's like therapy for me. But the YouTube Super Chat is there if you'd like to get your questions or comments read live on the air. Of course, the Really American Network, where there's 600,000 subscribers on YouTube and million plus on Facebook. We're very glad to be a part of their network as well. And coming up in a few minutes here, we have some Leonard Cardinal news to share with you. Yes, he is in studio, and I will be introducing him in a moment. But Leonard will be joining us here in just a few minutes. So we have some exciting news to share with you as well. So obviously, we're going to be talking about Jimmy Kimmel and his return to late night TV yesterday. Actor extraordinaire, you know him from Mallrats and Party of Five. Jeremy London's going to be joining us here momentarily because he's going to get his thoughts on Jimmy Kimmel. And I'm going to play some clips for you on the monologue yesterday. But I got to tell you, it's exactly what I expected. Jimmy Kimmel's a good guy. He's a passionate guy. And he has a good heart. And he's an emotional guy. And yes, last night, that's exactly what he did. And the MAGA people are so stupid. And I'm particularly talking about not necessarily anybody who voted for Donald Trump, but I'm talking about the people that were so happy to see Jimmy Kimmel suspended and or fired. They were so happy. They were jumping for joy. Why? Because Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about Donald Trump weirdness when he was asked about the loss of Jimmy Kimmel. And Donald Trump's response was, I'm okay. And then he started talking about the big ballroom at the White House. Yeah, anybody would make fun of that because he's a weirdo. He's got no compassion for people, and he's got no empathy for people. That's all Jimmy Kimmel was doing. He wasn't doing anything else. So I figured to start the show off, what better person who's been in the show business field for a very, very long time. I grew up with his movies. Of course, Mallrats is one of my personal favorites. His brother's a great actor, too. Of course, you know him from Party of Five. My friend Jeremy London, I'm happy to call.
Hey,
Jeremy, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Crazy week, man.
Yes. You've been in this business a long time. Let's start from the beginning. What was your first reaction when you heard that Jimmy Kimmel was getting suspended or his show was over indefinitely? What was your reaction to that?
I knew that they were going to awaken the sleeping tiger. There was no part of me that was ever worried about anything truly happening to Jimmy Kimmel, because the worst was that he gets his own show on some network where he can actually speak his mind. He goes scorch earth on them. He would be back in one form or another. You know who I felt bad for is Guillermo and all of the crew and the people that work hard. People don't understand all of the families that are affected. And so the most egregious aspects to me, besides the obvious violation of the First Amendment and all of that nonsense, was the fact that he just really doesn't care about the fact that he's wiping out the family, the income of 200 people there, that have families, and not to mention, just the egregious lies and the embarrassing UN appearance. I mean, just where does it end, bro? Where does it end?
But Jeremy, you know what? I think you would agree with me. And Jimmy Kimmel would never do this, but if somebody went on the air and had a show and made a joke about Charlie Kirk's death, that would be beyond inappropriate. And I would say, okay, they reap what they sow. the thing that bothered me most is that Jimmy Kimmel didn't do that. All he did was make fun of Donald Trump because Trump, as I just mentioned, was asked, how are you holding up? You know, one of your best friends is dead. How are you holding up? And his response was, I'm fine. And then he started talking about this stupid ballroom that they're building. And Jimmy Kimmel poked fun at it.
The problem is that this Brendan Carr idiot has been just waiting for anything to happen, right? And so he was like sitting there, and then he finally went, oh, there it is. Got it. Got him. Now we can kick him off. Not really understanding that, you know, that he has the fan base that he has, but also that what Jimmy said doesn't really qualify it. They were trying to, nobody was going to buy the story they were trying to twist it into, you know?
And you're right. And, you know, Jeremy, I was really impressed with all the other late night hosts like Jimmy Fallon, Conan O'Brien, Colbert, Jon Stewart. You know, they all had Jimmy's back, and a lot of the actors in Hollywood and people in the show business field, people like you, all seem to have Jimmy's back. And listen, I don't know how well you know Jimmy Kimmel. I've met him several times in Vegas. I've talked to him. I think he's a really good guy with a good heart. And he got emotional yesterday. And it reminded me a little bit, and we're on the same page here, Jeremy. We both believe that, listen, Charlie Kirk was not a good guy. He said some horrible things, but we don't think he deserved this. But I remember when I was on the air, when it all went down, and I got emotional on the air because I was thinking about his family. I was thinking about his kids. And I was thinking about all the people that were there that are traumatized from this, right? It's a horrible thing. And Jimmy Kimmel's that guy, and he got emotional yesterday, and he never made a joke about the death.
Yeah. Well, I think that even he knows that the only way to really to have any sort of fuel against the people that are like, yeah, he's a monster, he's said all these evil, horrible things, is for him to kind of really show that he's actually a human with a heart, and that he does understand what empathy is, because they really truly do believe that empathy is weakness. But the one thing they won't be able to say is that he's mean, you know, and that he's coming from a place of ugliness whenever he's clearly emotionally affected by it. So
Right.
it kind of it squashes that little talking point of theirs, but it doesn't matter because they're still going to twist themselves into pretzels, trying to, you know, demonize the left and make sure that the death of Charlie Kirk becomes completely and utterly bastardized.
Yeah.
To the point of there being fireworks and, you know, nothing even said about Charlie Kirk, really, from what I'm hearing at this thing. It was all politicians talking about how much they hate their enemies and stuff like that. There was, you know, from what I'm hearing, the only person that had any kind of message of love was Erica Kirk herself.
Right.
I can't imagine what it must be like to be mourning the death of your husband, but then having to participate in that circus.
Well, Donald Trump said
what
he
the
hated
hell's happening?
Yeah, it's a funeral, and Donald Trump and Stephen Miller acted like it was a campaign rally. I thought it was.
Well, that's why Charlie Kirk's parents weren't there, though, because it wasn't a funeral. Right. It wasn't even a memorial. It was a Klan rally. That was a rally. That had nothing to do with Charlie Kirk. That had to do with people that are profiteering off of his death. They are weaponizing should be sorrow into hatred, and using this as fuel to continue their the war, the civil war thing that they got going on. That it fuels the fire. It stokes those fires, and it keeps their little weird fantasy going.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever going to happen. Meal Team 6 is pretty incapable. A lot of people, like today, this idiot that shot these migrants in Dallas. Right. Do you think that we're supposed to believe that he left behind bullet casings that said anti-ICE conveniently? You know, the same way all of this other stuff with Kirk's killer so conveniently. It's all so dumb. It's Pulp Fiction at its worst. It's like
And
if you
dangerous.
like, it's like beginning Pulp Fiction writing classes, and they're using all these dumb little things. First
Yeah.
of all, if you were somebody that was going to go in there and kill migrants and try to throw somebody off the scent, you would probably scratch anti-ice on there anyway, even if you weren't anti-ice. It's a distraction and a way to throw people off the scent anyway. So
I mean,
these
but
people
it's
that take
amazing.
them literally is so silly to me.
It's amazing to me. I mean, I was watching, I did Pierce Morgan last week, and I was watching it the other day, and they had this guy, Eric Bowling, on, who, as you know, used to be a Fox News anchor, and I think he's a right-wing buffoon. And he was focusing on the fact that the shooter had a transgender boyfriend. And I'm thinking to myself, what bearing does that have on this shooting at all? If anything, you should be praising this transgender. And by the way, I don't care that this person's transgender or not, but my understanding is this person is cooperating with the FBI and helped turn him in with his father.
It's so irrelevant. It's so irrelevant.
Yeah.
The whole thing is so irrelevant.
Yeah, it really is.
It really, truly, listen, man, what have there been, like 4 or 5 trans shooters? There's over 3,600, mostly young white male shooters. So, once again, it is just finding their entire platform is built around keeping people afraid of everything. And so they have to have a boogeyman constantly. So
Yeah.
once one boogeyman is squashed, the other boogeyman, like, that's why the cats and dogs being eaten goes away so quickly, because then they jump onto the next
Jeremy,
set of boogeyman.
I wanted to ask you this, since you've been in the acting business for quite some time. Do you feel like you've ever been the victim of cancel culture yourself in your career?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Because when you're sort of the victim of sort of tabloid fodder, it's no different. Because if then the people that are going to, potentially hire you in the future believe that tabloid fodder, then you've been canceled, right? So it's no different, and it's because, once again, it comes back to money and people that don't care that they destroy the lives of other people if they can make a profit on it. And that's the thing, is that, unfortunately, I had a very, very sick, drug addicted ex-wife who needed money, and so she sold a bunch of really ugly, untrue stories to the National Enquirer and stuff like that. And but those stories spread, and they the whole "where there's smoke there's fire" thing, people believe that, and it's not true. It's not necessarily true. Where there's a drug addiction, there's desperation. People just seem to forget about that kind of stuff, But
Yeah. I was just going to say, the time that I've gotten to know you, Jeremy, I find you to be an extremely compassionate person with empathy. And I remember when
my eyes look like this today because my dad's memorials today. And so I've had a day, on top of all of this other stuff.
I'm so sorry to hear about the passing of your dad. My thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Frank London was a good man. My dad is a good man. Listen, man, he got to call his shot. He got to say, I'm done and I want to go, and went on his own terms. And gosh, who gets to do that?
That's true.
It's pretty cool.
A lot of people don't get to do that. You're right about that. Particularly these kids that are getting gunned down in schools, and this innocent black police officer that I'm sure you've heard of, a former veteran who was shot because of this Trump deranged anti-vaccine lunatic. But it's interesting, right, Jeremy? Because the Trumpers, they don't want to talk about that stuff. They don't want to talk about all these innocent children that are being gunned down in schools. They don't want to talk about the gun violence, or as they would say in Charlie Kirk's last words, they just want to talk about black on black crime, or as he put it, gang violence. It's absolutely despicable. Well, Jeremy, before I let you go, again, thoughts and prayers to your family. I'm sorry about the passing of your dad. You know how much I love you and your brother. And
Thank you, my friend.
By the way, your artwork, let people know where they can get it, because, man, I look at your artwork and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's like, you're unbelievable. You're talented. Where do people find your artwork? Better than Hunter Biden's artwork, by the way. Let me just add that.
Thank you. Really, mostly on Twitter at Sir Jeremy London, or X, or whatever the hell you guys want to call it. I call it Twitter. I can't even fathom calling it X. But I'm Sir Jeremy London, also on Blue Sky. You know what? I only post art on Blue Sky. So Blue Sky, Sir Jeremy London, really probably be the best place.
I'm waiting for my self-portrait, Jeremy. I'm still
Hey
waiting.
man, if I can ever catch up on commissions, I'd love to do it, man.
Fair
I've been
enough.
busy, 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 busy. I'm headed to Detroit this weekend. I'll be in Fantasticon convention with a lot of my Mallrats family. They're
Nice.
doing the 30 year anniversary. We 30 years ago we did that movie.
Wow. Is Ben
And
Affleck going to be there?
I don't know. Maybe Chronicon in Chicago
Yeah.
in October, mid October, October what,
That is
10th,
awesome.
10th through the 12th, I think, something like that.
If I was there, I would have my Mallrats poster right there for you to sign.
Where the Chronicon's the time to do it because that's going to be the biggest gathering of Mallrats to
Love it.
date, and I'm hoping Kevin has some good news on the Mallrats too front at this thing. So yeah, who knows? It'd be cool.
That the reunion sounds fun to me. I can't wait to see the pictures on your social media. Jeremy, I always love it when you come on the show, and I really do appreciate your
Thanks for
perspective.
having me, brother. I
Yeah,
appreciate you.
thanks for coming on, Jeremy. We'll talk soon, okay? Take care.
Yes, sir.
There you go, everybody. Jeremy London, a guy that I grew up with watching on the big screen. Of course, Mallrats, the cult classic, Party of Five. And I wanted to get his perspective on this Jimmy Kimmel stuff. And of course, as always, he gave us a great perspective. We love Jeremy, and condolences to the passing of his dad. And yes, I want Mallrats too, as long as he promises me a role in the movie. That's all. I've already been promised a line in Juwanna Man too, because Miguel Nunez is a friend of mine. Yes, I'm name dropping. And Vivica Fox is a friend of mine. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, not only am I going to introduce Leonard Cardinale, but we have some big show news that involves him as well. And when we come back, I'm going to be playing you some of Jimmy Kimmel's monologue yesterday. I know we both are going to have some very strong opinions on it, and then we'll open up the phone lines as well. We'll take a 90-second break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. It's so funny. I just heard one of the commercials we ran and hockey, and it just reminded me of the Vegas Golden Knights game I went to yesterday. The first hockey game of the year that I went to. It was preseason. I went with some great company, and unfortunately saw the Vegas Golden Knights lose to the LA Kings. But it's great to see NHL hockey back and the NFL in full swing, and it's a great time to be a sports fan with the college basketball and NBA season right around the corner. So we're going to get to this Jimmy Kimmel stuff, but of course I want to introduce a man that needs no introduction, of course. You see him every Wednesday on this show. Leonard Cardinale, who is a longtime police officer from North Vegas, former lieutenant, joining us in the studio. Leonard, it is good to see you as always. How are you?
How's it going, Brian? Just another busy day. So much news out there. There's so much to get to. It's ridiculous.
There's so much news. It's insane. Well, first of all, let me just make this announcement. You're going to be seeing more of Leonard.
Yeah.
For some of you MAGAs out there that don't like me and don't like Leonard, that might be bad news for you. I don't know, but I think most people would be pretty happy to hear he's going to be on this show at least several times a week. So kind of going to be more of a regular co-host, if you will. And I'm going to be touring the Un-F America tour. As I keep telling you guys, I'm going to be all over the country. I'm going to be traveling probably starting in late October. And Leonard's going to be right here in the studio.
That tour is getting crazy.
It's getting popular.
Growing so fast.
It is. I'm a big part of that, along with Robbie Roadsteamer, of
Love
course,
Robbie.
and Destiny. I was talking to Robbie the other day, and Destiny's a good dude. And so what I'm going to do, and I said this on the show, is I'm going to be broadcasting live remotely from these places, from these events. And I'll be co-hosting with you, and you'll be here in studio. So I think it'll be fun for everybody. So that's
I think the fans will love that.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do, Leonard. So I'm glad that you're going to be a bigger part of the show, which is exciting. So as you know, Jimmy Kimmel was back on the air yesterday, and all these MAGA buffoons out there were celebrating to high heaven. The ones that are against cancel culture, Leonard, were out there gloating, celebrating.
Was it premature?
I think a lot of things are premature. We could talk to Stormy Daniels about that, but
that
yes.
never happens.
Yeah, but I mean, first of all, Jimmy Kimmel's a talented guy, and anytime listen, Donald Trump calls Bruce Springsteen no talent. He calls some of the most talented people in this country not no talent losers, right? The only reason why I said that about Jimmy Kimmel is because Jimmy Kimmel is talented, and he mocks Donald Trump, and he's very funny in doing so.
He is funny, great speaker.
Jimmy Kimmel didn't do anything wrong. I went back and I watched the joke that he made, and the joke was about Donald Trump, not Charlie Kirk. Donald Trump was asked, how are you holding up after the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk? And Donald Trump says, I'm fine. He says 2 words, and then he starts talking about his stupid ballroom that is being built. That is not only a weird response, but from somebody, you just lost your friend. Is that the way you respond to it? It was very strange. And Jimmy Kimmel poked fun at Donald Trump. It had absolutely nothing to do with mocking Charlie Kirk, saying something negative about Charlie Kirk, because Jimmy Kimmel didn't do any of that. And Jimmy Kimmel got emotional on the air yesterday, and quite frankly, it reminded me a little bit about when I was on the air.
Yeah.
I'm on the air last week.
I remember that day.
I had no idea that Jimmy Kimmel was shot, and then Numchuck did a good job of showing me kind of, per second what was going on.
Charlie Kirk.
What did I say?
You said Kimmel got shot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Lack of sleep, I think. Yeah, obviously Jimmy Kimmel didn't get shot. We know that it was Charlie Kirk. I misspoke there. My apologies. But as Charlie Kirk got shot, it was happening in real time on the air, and anybody who watched the show that day would know that I was getting emotional. Not because I really liked Charlie Kirk, because I didn't. Not because I agreed with almost anything he stood for, because I didn't. I got emotional because I'm a human being, and he's still a human being in his early 30s. And I thought about his children, and I thought about the people that were there that had to witness that, and I watched the video while I was live on the air, and I got emotional. Jimmy Kimmel got emotional yesterday. This is still a guy in his early 30s. Doesn't mean we have to like him. I didn't like him. But I think if you're a human being, that's the way you react to anybody getting murdered. Like them. Jimmy Kimmel said something, Leonard, that I want to hear you respond to. He didn't make it about himself. He said the show's not important, something else is. Have a listen to this.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
So what does he mean by that?
He's being humble. He's
Not
saying
only-
that
yeah.
he said he's a small part of something bigger.
You're right. He is being humble. But this is a bigger issue than just the
Right.
Jimmy Kimmel show. This is literally cancel culture. If you don't, now it'd be one thing if Jimmy Kimmel made a very inappropriate death joke about Charlie Kirk, which, by the way, he didn't do. He would never do. But if somebody, and I've said this on the air, if you mocked the death of Charlie Kirk or you made jokes about it, you reap what you sow. If you represent a company, they have the right to fire you. Now, that's not always the case. I think there were some firings across the country that were not justified. But Jimmy Kimmel didn't do any of that stuff. And he said, this show is not what's important. What's important is that we should be living in a country where we can make jokes about political figures and not worry about the repercussions of it, because we can't be living in an oligarchy or a dictatorship. Sadly, right now, we are.
The show is important. I mean, it brought millions of viewers, millions of opinions to this very subject. And you have Brendan Carr talking, obviously, like a mafia guy. Like,
yeah, we're going to get to
we
that.
do this easy way or the hard way, you know. And that's a threat from someone in a very, very high position. And none of it, in my opinion, none of it looks like America. None of it.
I agree with you, and we're going to get to Brendan Carr in a moment because I do want to talk about him. But, you know, it's so interesting how in most of Jimmy Kimmel's jokes, they're very funny, but they're also partly truthful. And he brings up the Epstein files here. Listen to this.
He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
So funny yet so true. The irony of it, you know, Donald Trump and his administration willing to do anything and everything they can so they don't have to talk about the Epstein files because we know Donald Trump is in them. And he's right.
There is some quick breaking news on the Epstein files. In Arizona, the Adelita Grijalva took the special session. She won the seat. She said she's going to vote. She will be the final vote in the House to order them to release the Epstein files. So I don't think the vote's taken place yet, but that's coming.
Yeah, and listen, let me be very clear, and I'm going to say something that I think all of you already know. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Kash Patel was asked multiple times, a friend of the show, by Eric Swalwell.
Eight times, I think?
7 or 8 times, Eric Swalwell asked Kash Patel a very simple question under oath, which was, did you tell Pam Bondi that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Now, if he didn't, he would immediately say no.
Just like you or I would.
Right. But the reason why he refused to answer the question is because the answer is obviously yes. And he knew that he was under oath. So Kimmel brings up the Epstein files. It's amazing, you know, how so many in the media stop talking about this with so many other things in the news. But I will not stop talking about it.
Because they're afraid. They're afraid.
Yeah, I will not stop talking.
They're going to get attacked just like every other station gets attacked.
And the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is getting the preferential treatment and was sent to Club Med, for all of you MAGA idiots out there that talk about sex trafficking, and by the way, I'm on your side. Sex trafficking is terrible. I know Leonard agrees with that. But if you're one of those people that constantly talked about sexual abuse and Hollywood elitists that are in the Epstein files, you have zero credibility now because your guy's in there. And if you're talked about sex trafficking, look at the way they've treated Maxwell. And I actually believe there was sex trafficking going on at Mar-a-Lago. I don't know if you agree with me on this.
Let me ask you a question. If you're the kind of person on the right who thinks there's nothing wrong with what the Epstein did and Ghislaine Maxwell and Donald Trump, and you make excuses for them, are you not the same person? Are you not the same kind of person, or am I just making too many subjective assumptions?
It's true. No, you're right.
You have to be the same kind of person to think that's okay.
I always talk about consistency on this show, and I've always said that if you beat police officers during Black Lives Matter's protest, you're just as guilty as anybody who beat a police officer on January 6th, and I would never characterize you as a hostage and a patriot. By the way, did Joe Biden pardon any of those people during Black Lives Matter? I'm just curious. Did he? No, I don't think so.
Did you see the Uvalde shooting? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Uvalde.
Uvalde shooting.
Yep.
Okay, so according to the MAGAs, if you walk in a place peacefully, you're not there for trouble. If you saw the video of the shooter on that day that shot those kids, he walked in peacefully. He walked down the hallway. He was very calm. He was looking around, and then he went and he murdered children. So what does it matter if you're walking around peacefully? What does it matter if the police let you in? What does it matter if you came there just for history because it's a historic site, and then you incite violence? You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Taking a dump on the speaker's desk, things like that, stealing documents. It doesn't matter how you entered. Why are they making such a big thing about it?
For the record, though, if I had the opportunity and it wasn't against the law, I would probably want to take a dump on Marjorie Taylor Greene's desk. But anyway.
What kind of legs did Robbie say she had?
Strong horse legs.
Strong horse
legs.
Yeah.
Annoyed AF on the YouTube Super Chat. We're starting that up. Says, side note, the Trump administration is trying to dismantle the Violence Against Women's Act. By the way, I agree with that. It's funny, you won't hear Riley Gaines criticizing Donald Trump about that today. She'll continue for the last 3 years.
He would do away with the 19th Amendment if he thought he could.
He probably could.
That gave women the right to vote. He would do away with it. I'm sure he would.
Speaking of the Constitution, speaking of freedom of speech, let's talk a little bit about Brendan Carr, who, by the way, is a bold-faced liar and a coward. He happens to be running the FCC, and he's weaponized it to go after Donald Trump's political opponents. I love what Jimmy Kimmel said about him yesterday. It's why I love Jimmy Kimmel. He does not hold back. Here's Jimmy Kimmel's thoughts on Brendan Carr.
10 years ago, this sounded crazy. Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC, telling an American company, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, and that these companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead, in addition to being a direct violation of the First Amendment, is not a particularly intelligent threat to make in public. Ted Cruz said he sounded like a mafioso. Although, I don't know, if you want to hear a mob boss make a threat like that, you have to hide a microphone in a deli and park outside in a van with a tape recorder all night long. This genius said it on a podcast. Brendan Carr is the most embarrassing car Republicans have embraced since this one. And that's saying something.
Cybertruck with Trump on the side.
The FCC.
Yeah, he was showing the Cybertruck, the Elon Musk Cybertruck. Agree with everything he just said about Brendan Carr, who's a coward, and he's weaponized the FCC. It's despicable. It's disgusting. And Carr is human scum, is what he is.
Did he give what they call prima facie evidence to all the lawsuits? Like, the lawsuits are going to follow. Some may wait until, there's an opportunity or Trump doesn't have so much influence. But I think they're all going to be sued for millions, maybe billions of dollars. And didn't Brendan Carr just give them the evidence that they're claiming they have? I mean, that's the way I look at it. I think he did a terrible disservice talking, hey, this is a really nice broadcast station. Be a shame if something happened to it, but I could help you with that. Isn't that what he said?
It's exactly what he said and was referring to. And, it's interesting because the right, people on the right, they want to talk about how Jimmy Kimmel didn't have ratings. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Donald Trump did Jimmy Kimmel a favor. Jimmy Kimmel talked about that a little bit.
He's gunning for our journalists, too. He's suing them. He's bullying them. Over the weekend, his foxy friend Pete Hegseth announced a new policy that requires journalists with Pentagon press credentials to sign a pledge promising not to report information that hasn't been explicitly authorized for release. That includes unclassified information. They want to pick and choose what the news is. I know that's not as interesting as muzzling a comedian, but it's so important to have a free press, and it is nuts that we aren't paying more attention to it.
1930s Germany.
Walter Cronkite must be spinning in his grave right now. He's dead, right? Yeah.
Walter Cronkite is, but Walter Cronkite was a legend in the industry. And, Donald Trump did do him a favor, ratings per se, but it is true. Do we want to live in a country where it's like Russia, where if you are a journalist and you criticize leadership, you lose your job, you lose your livelihood.
They put him in jail in Russia.
In some cases, even kill
And if they
them.
won't shut up after that, they might fall down the stairs.
And this is how it starts. This is how it starts. And finally, I think this is one of the best points that Jimmy Kimmel made last night, and he made a lot of good ones.
It was a good monologue.
But the difference between Donald Trump and so many people that were in his seat prior to is that they don't celebrate in other people's misery. Joe Biden didn't do that. Barack Obama didn't do that. I don't think George W. Bush did that. But Donald Trump does. He literally celebrates Americans that lose their livelihoods. And why? As Jimmy Kimmel put it, because he can't take a joke. Listen to this.
And I am a tiny part of the Disney Corporation. They welcomed me back on the air, and I thank them for that. That And I think unjustly, this puts them at risk. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke.
This is how petty our president is. Jimmy Kimmel is 150% correct. This isn't just about Jimmy Kimmel. Listen, Jimmy Kimmel would have been just fine. He's got a lot of money. He would have got a gig elsewhere. But there's a lot of people that work behind the scenes, and a lot of those people are living paycheck to paycheck. Not everybody is making the big bucks over there. And they would have lost their jobs as well. And Donald Trump would have been not only okay with it, he would have celebrated it. And MAGA would have celebrated it, where hundreds of people would have lost their livelihood and their jobs that have been working for Jimmy Kimmel for years. This is who Donald Trump is. And I've been trying to say this ever since Donald Trump, maybe a couple months into his first presidency back in 2016. He only cares about himself. He only cares about his own grievances, and he doesn't care about other people. And this is just another perfect example of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's the main difference between, not the main difference, but a big difference between us and people who are on the right wing and the MAGAs is they are proud to have no compassion. They wear it proudly that they have no empathy. Empathy is the basis from which America was born, because we cared about other people. We cared about their problems. We cared about the people who built this country that came from Italy and Germany and Ireland and the immigrants. That's who built this country. And now they just want them out, and they don't care. They're proud. Who's proud not to have empathy, not to have compassion for other human beings, not to have simple kindness that most human beings have since they're children?
And we could start by talking about how dangerous Fox News is, Newsmax, OAN. We can talk about how dangerous it was that Fox News lied over and over again and said that Dominion voting machines were the reason why Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. They paid almost $900 million for it, but I feel like every single day they spread propaganda and hate. And I'm not saying that left-wing entities never do that either, but it seems to be happening, at least these days, far more on the right than the left. I would argue Jimmy Kimmel has never incited violence the way Donald Trump has. Jimmy Kimmel has never made jokes about murder. Jimmy Kimmel never called Barack Obama magic Negro. That's what Rush Limbaugh did on his radio program. And I will go back to Charlie Kirk. And I will say this. Jimmy Kimmel never spread hateful rhetoric the way that Charlie Kirk did. Jimmy Kimmel never asked his viewers to donate to a guy who just attempted to murder Paul Pelosi. Charlie Kirk did that. Jimmy Kimmel never said the Civil Rights Act was a bad thing and a mistake.
He never spread lies either. A lot of what Charlie Kirk said was lies.
Of course. He never, called Martin Luther King Jr. a bad guy. Charlie Kirk did that. Jimmy Kimmel didn't do any of the stuff that Charlie Kirk did and spread bigotry and hate and making millions of dollars off that. Jimmy Kimmel makes money because he's an entertaining comedian. That could be subjective. If you don't like him, you don't have to watch. I actually think Jimmy Kimmel, number one, is a good guy. He's got compassion. There's been plenty of times where he's been emotional on the air because he cares about people. He's proven that. Even Charlie Kirk, when he got choked up about it yesterday. And he's funny. And I think he's very talented.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
They have a president who says, and I don't consider him my president, even though he is the president, but they have a president who says, I hate my opponents. I hate liberals. They're crazy. There's something wrong with them. You would never hear Joe Biden saying that, or Kamala Harris, or Barack Obama, or George Bush, or George W. Bush. None of them. Bill Clinton. I can keep going back as far as you want. You can't find anybody who spoke in that manner. And so Trump likes the division. He likes to hate his opponents. And if you're okay with that, like I said before, does that make you one of them? If they're okay with the hatred and they're like, yeah, we hate him too. Aren't you the same as him with a dark heart?
I completely agree with you. And I'm at the point now where if you voted for Donald Trump and you're not willing to make a mistake, then I think there's something wrong with you. I'm willing to have a conversation.
They're the same as him.
Yeah, I just think there's something wrong with you. And, some people say, I couldn't vote for Kamala. Listen, I don't think Kamala is perfect either. But I think there's a fine line difference from a moral compass perspective and many other perspectives. I just don't get it, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to open up the phone lines, and I want to get your thoughts on Jimmy Kimmel last night, his monologue. He did exactly what I thought he would do. He showed a lot of compassion.
It was a great monologue.
He didn't necessarily apologize for anything, but he explained that he did not celebrate Charlie Kirk's murder. He was making a joke about Donald Trump, and he did not mean it to be interpreted that way. And by the way, it shouldn't have been interpreted that way. I think Jimmy Kimmel said all the right things yesterday. And quite frankly, I love the guy.
It's like you said before. They were just Brendan Carr and Trump and Stephen Millers of the world were just waiting for something that was even remotely wrong to say so they could jump on it.
Right.
It was all political theater, and it cost $6 or $8 billion. Some people are saying $6 billion. $8 billion. Do you know? Because I heard upward of $6 billion.
I've heard more than that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Jimmy Kimmel's back on the air.
Good guy.
And MAGA did not win. Going to the YouTube super chat real quickly. Starch Manning says, thoughts on how anyone could look at the speech from Stephen Miller, also known as Pee Wee German,
Pee-wee German,
and not admit the hate. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, Stephen Miller's speech was even more hateful than Donald Trump, and that's a pretty hateful. Yeah. And I've tried to say this, and I'm going to continue to say this. Obviously, people are going to reference Charlie Kirk, and we're going to talk about issues, and his name might pop up here and there, but I'm pretty much over talking about it. I'm sorry it happened. I feel for his family, but I'm kind of done talking about Charlie Kirk. There are far more people that I would rather be talking about right now than Charlie Kirk.
Let's talk more about the UNF America tour. Let's talk more about that.
Absolutely, and we will be doing that in the days, weeks, and months to come, and I'm so glad to be a part of what they are doing. Okay, the number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a program, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the show, that number is 702-221-SAVE. All right, we are going to start off with Drake. Drake is first up on PTL. Hello, Drake.
Hey, I'm a Trump supporter down here in Florida, and yeah, Charlie Kirk, what happened? I mean, I just don't think it's one of those things that you just move on from. You know, it's like we're gonna have to mourn, and
we don't have to mourn. Why do you say we all have to mourn?
We lost. He was like a Martin Luther King of the modern generation.
Oh my God.
Okay, so
Drake,
me
right now?
So Drake, that's your opinion. I completely disagree with you. If you would like to mourn a guy who defended white supremacy, a guy who literally joked around after Paul Pelosi's attempted murder,
spoke bad about black women.
Yeah,
spoke bad about black pilots.
Yeah, Drake.
Spoke bad about black teachers. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, so Drake, if you want to look at him as some sort of martyr or hero, I couldn't disagree with you more, but let me be very clear. We are not mourning. If you would like to mourn, you can go ahead and do that because it's the United States of America. You have the right to. But let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you think we should mourn somebody's death when they say empathy is a bad thing and that empathy is dangerous? Do you agree with that? Do you think empathy is dangerous?
Who said that?
Who do you think said
Charlie
that?
Kirk said it.
Who do you think said that?
Donald Trump?
No,
Charlie Kirk said it.
We're not talking about Donald Trump right now. You must have Trump derangement syndrome. We're talking about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said that. Did you think the Civil Rights Act was a bad thing?
It had its flaws.
It had its flaws, but do you think it was a bad thing?
It had its flaws. What flaw? It saved people
It
from
broke
slavery.
down
It
their
made
families.
it got rid of Jim Crow. It made it so that everyone was equal. What's wrong with that? Where's the problem with that?
So let me ask you a question. If Charlie Kirk was bludgeoned with a hammer and almost died, do you think it would be appropriate for me to go on the air next day and smile about it and ask my listeners to donate to the person who did the attack? Do you think that would be appropriate?
I mean, it's America. You have the freedom.
Didn't ask you. The question wasn't about are you allowed to do it.
We know
I
about
need
America.
you to focus on the question. Don't dodge it. If Charlie Kirk was bludgeoned with a hammer and almost died, if I went on the air the next day and smiled and asked my listeners, which I never would, to donate to the attacker's fund to get him out of jail, do you think that would be an appropriate thing to do? Yes or no?
Well, why are we getting into semantics?
This isn't
That's
semantics.
not semantics.
Excuse me, sir. This isn't semantics. You're obviously not smart enough to understand why I'm asking you this question. So let me connect the MAGA dots for you, if I may, okay?
Semantics.
Charlie Kirk went on the air the next day. I played the audio on this show. He smiled, he joked, and he wanted, in fact, he used the term hero for any of his listeners who donated money to the attempted murder of Paul Pelosi. That happened. This isn't semantics, and I'm not bringing up a hypothetical. Charlie Kirk did that. Now, I know you're a coward because you don't want to answer my question, but you are calling that person who you are mourning the person who did that. So I ask you now for a third time. Do you think that was appropriate? And I will ask you now, Charlie Kirk. Do you think it was appropriate for him to do that? Would a good person do that?
It was done in satire.
No, actually, it wasn't done in satire because there were people that actually did donate money and to the guy who, by the way, was convicted of attempting to murder Paul Pelosi. So no, that was not satire. Charlie Kirk was being serious about it. And that is a given fact. And you can go back and you can listen to the audio yourself. He said people like Michelle Obama, black women like Michelle Obama and others, don't have the mental capacity to be taken seriously. Do you agree?
With what? The Pelosi or the Michelle Obama?
No, the fact that he talks about black women in a disparaging manner and saying that the only way they get promoted or get a spot is not because of their competency and how smart and how sharp they are and how educated. It's because a spot was open, became open from a white man, and that's how they got their promotion and their spot. That's what Charlie Kirk said. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
I'll make it easier for Drake.
You agree with that?
I'll make it easier for Drake. I think he's going to embarrass himself.
Say that about Big Mike.
Okay, Drake, let's try to focus here for a moment. Who do you think was more intelligent, the person who got a Harvard-educated law degree or the guy who dropped out of college after 6 months of community college? Who do you think is smarter?
He was an activist. That's why he dropped out.
The question wasn't whether he was an activist or not. I need you to focus on the question. I'll make it specific. Michelle Obama got a college degree and got her law degree from Harvard, a black woman who made it in America. Charlie Kirk was given boatloads of money from funding from far right-wing lunatics, and he is known for not debating and being a great debater from people his age or older, but from debating a bunch of unprepared people like you, people that are 18 and 19 years old on college campuses. So I ask you again, who do you think was more educated and more intelligent, Michelle Obama or Charlie Kirk?
What was she educated in?
I just told you. Do I stutter? I just told you. I'm not going to repeat it again. Why don't you answer the question?
He needs a Starbucks or something.
Why don't you answer the question?
I have a coffee right here on my desk.
Oh, you need to drink it down.
Okay.
You need to drink it down, Drake, because you're having trouble keeping up with the conversation, which we would welcome you. We want you to keep up with the conversation. We want you to tell us why you think educated black women are not equal to somebody who has limited education and does nothing but spread hate and division. We want to know why you think he's better. That's what we're asking.
I don't. Yeah.
Well, you voted for him, right?
Not Charlie Kirk.
You voted for Trump, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, and I have 3 college
never
degrees.
Wrong.
I don't care if you
have never wrong.
I don't care if you have 100 college degrees. Okay, if you voted for Donald Trump, I disagree with you. And the fact of the matter is that he's embarrassing this country every day. I'm not going to sit there and mourn for Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry it happened to him. I feel for his family.
Can't
but
tell someone who to mourn for.
Yeah. That first of all, this is America. If you don't want to mourn for somebody, guess what? You don't have to. The day after Rush Limbaugh passed away from cancer, I wasn't sad at all because he was a bad guy who did a lot of bad things. Now, but that was different circumstance. Rush Limbaugh was not murdered by somebody. Okay, he died of cancer. Charlie Kirk was murdered. It was a horrible thing, but I ain't sitting here mourning. Okay, I'm not going to be mourning for somebody that I think was a bad human being. I wish it didn't happen to him. It was horrible. So Drake, you can go ahead and you can mourn. Let me ask you a question. When it was announced that Joe Biden got cancer, what was your first reaction to that?
I thought it was pretty sad. Because, he didn't have much of a life outside of being president, and he's probably pretty sick already.
Do you know anything about this, Drake? Do you know anything? He had an amazing
what are you
life,
talking about?
Absolutely amazing. He was in the Senate for 50 years, I think.
He became
post-presidential life. I don't mean in general. Just like after. He worked so hard in president, and he gets sick.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean post-presidential? What is your knowledge?
He doesn't. He just doesn't have much time to retire and be healthy. He just has a life full of
He's in his early 80s. He's in his early 80s.
No, but he's sick, though. The guy's sick. I feel bad.
Okay, so doctor, doctor, I'm glad for your compassion, doctor. Can you tell me what you found in Joe Biden's physical? What did you find, doctor?
I know he got diagnosed.
What are your medical? What are your medical credentials?
I'm not a doctor.
You're not a
I'm
doctor.
just
Okay,
saying,
thank
like,
you. Thank you for
I
admitting that.
feel bad for
Okay,
him.
okay. Well, thank you. I'm glad that's the answer that I was trying to get from you to see if you had any compassion. But to say that he didn't have, okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. But you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. And many people like you seem to diagnose him with Alzheimer's. He's got this, he's got that. But yet you don't want to talk about Donald Trump and his mental capacity.
You know what the difference is, Brian, really? I mourned for Jimmy Carter. I happen to like Jimmy Carter. I think he was an awesome president. But you know what you and I don't do? We don't call people up or confront people and tell them you should be mourning for Jimmy Carter.
No, it's absurd.
How ridiculous, how presumptive is that?
But Leonard, it's the same people that preach about Christian white nationalism. They're right and everybody else is wrong.
Like Riley?
Yeah, the religious zealots out there and the Bible thumpers that want to tell you what to do. They want to tell you how to think.
How about love thy neighbor?
Yeah. But,
ever hear of that?
But yet.
How about your brother's keeper? Ever hear of that?
But yet, I agree. But yet, these are the same people that say we're indoctrinating people. The teachers are indoctrinating people. Give me a freaking break. So, Drake, thank you for the phone call. But I mean, you go ahead and you could go on your knees every day and wear the Charlie Kirk knee pads.
Yeah, go worship Charlie Kirk.
Go
Who
ahead.
Cares?
Go ahead and go to his grave site and, with your MAGA gear. You're welcome to do that if you'd like to, but you're not somebody that I would hang out with. That's for sure. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Johnny. Johnny's next on PTL. What's up, Johnny?
Hi, is this Brian and Leonard?
Hi, Johnny.
Yes.
Hi. Brian, I've been listening to your show for a few weeks, and you seem like you're about consistency, but I got to call you out on a few things.
Okay.
Okay, so I've heard you many, many times say things like, that's whataboutisms. That's whataboutisms. We don't play whataboutisms. Is that correct?
It depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, when a MAGA is trying to deflect, yes, we call it whataboutism. Yep. Definitely.
Sure.
Okay, well, earlier in your little monologue, you were talking about Kash Patel, and you said he was asked that question, about telling Pam Bondi. You were like, if he would have not, he would have said no right away, but he tried to deflect it, so we know what that means. That's a whataboutism.
No, it wasn't a deflection.
Hold on. Let me help my MAGA friend. Let me help my MAGA friend real quickly. Please take the MAGA wax out of your ears and be quiet. I'm going to answer your question. We were talking about, okay, listen, I know it's very hard for some MAGA supporters like yourself because you're not very bright, but that's okay. I'll explain it to you. We were talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the files and the fact that Donald Trump it's a distraction for him to talk about other things because he doesn't want to talk about the Epstein
Jimmy
files.
Kimmel made a joke about it.
Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about the Epstein files last night. The reason why I brought up Kash Patel, and you're clearly not smart enough to understand this, I'm not surprised, is because he was asked if he told Pam Bondi that Donald Trump's in the Epstein files, which clearly he did, and he refused to answer the question. That is actually the opposite of whataboutism.
Whataboutism. Nope. You always want consistent.
No, let me explain to you, Johnny. Whataboutism is something that's not relevant or connected to the conversation. So when we confront MAGAs and they go, well, what about Hunter Biden's laptop? That's whataboutism.
Let's do whataboutism. You ready for this, Leonard?
Okay.
Let's do whataboutism. What is your education, sir? Whataboutism.
What about Hunter Biden?
What does that matter?
Tell me. What is your education? Yeah, exactly. This is whataboutism. I agree with you. Tell my listening audience of 200,000 plus how smart you are. What is your education, you dope? Tell me how smart
Brian,
you are.
You don't get 200,000 people. There's no way.
Okay. Would you like to make a wager? Would you like to make a wager on that? Because I could send you one screenshot on one social media platform where I do. You're not very bright, sir. Why don't you just repeat after me? I'm a MAGA buffoon. I'm stupid. Repeat after me. I'm a dummy, and I voted for Donald Trump.
Against your own policy.
I'm sorry, what? What did you say?
You just don't like being called out on your own consistent
But you're wrong. We don't mind getting called out, but you're completely wrong.
Hold on. Let's hear him out. Let me hear you out on this. Let me hear you. Okay, let's explain to me why I'm wrong when Jimmy Kimmel talks about the Epstein files and he makes a joke about the Epstein files, and then I start discussing Kash Patel talking about the Epstein files. Explain to me how that's whataboutism. Help me understand, sir.
You're just assuming that he was told to Pam Bondi, and
so that's a different argument. All right. So hold on, sir. Hold on, Johnny. Johnny, go. Hold on a second, okay? You said it was whataboutism, and now you're moving your little goalpost, and now you're saying I'm assuming something.
No.
Okay. No, that's what you're doing. So now I'm going to ask you a question. Hey, now I'm going to ask you a question. Give me one logical reason why Kash Patel wouldn't answer that question if Donald Trump wasn't in the Epstein files. Go.
That's not my job.
It's not your job because you're an idiot. That's why you're an idiot.
Okay, but it's an assumption, Johnny. Listen, it's an assumption based on fact. And here's the facts. In March of this year, 1,000 FBI agents. Who's a director of FBI? Kash Patel.
Yeah.
1,000 agents were pulled to go comb through 100,000, and this is in the news. This is reporting 100,000 pages and expunge Donald Trump's name from the documents.
Leonard,
so the assumption is based in fact. It's an empirical study.
You're trying to speak logic.
It's not subjective at all.
You're trying to speak logic to a guy who's got a 20 IQ. Hey, dumbass, what do you do for work? Whataboutism, Mr. Whataboutism. What do you do for work?
Don't call me dumbass.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dumbass. What do you do for work?
No, hey.
Respectfully,
what do you do for work? Tell us, what do you do for work?
About it.
What do you do?
I'm in IT.
Yeah, IT
unemployed?
for what? Unemployed IT? What the hell do you do for a living? Who hires you? What company has hired you? What would hire a lame brain moron like you?
I work remotely. I can work for lots of companies.
Yeah, you could.
Oh.
You could, couldn't you?
I do.
I bet you could be the president.
So he's a stay-at-home dad.
I bet you could be the president of the United States.
Are you a stay-at-home dad?
I
Be
bet
honest.
you tell people that. Did he hang up the phone? You
See,
jackass.
but that's what they do. They call names, they curse, they get frustrated.
Well, I
and
call
when
names.
They can't,
I call names too.
I know, but you don't hang up. That's
No,
the difference.
Hang up.
They get to the point where they just hang up because they can't make their point.
Hey, sir, what do you do for a living? Well, I could do this, this, and this. You idiot.
I could work for multiple different radio stations.
Yeah, you crap
From
for
home.
brains. First, it went to whataboutism. Then it went to, well, why isn't Kash Patel? You're assuming that he's in there. But no. You know what I'm assuming? I'm assuming that you're going to be late for your Klan rally tonight and your Confederate flag. And why don't you get a job, you unemployed fool?
If we were
you?
using whataboutism, let's talk about that. We're not afraid of it. We're not afraid to pivot.
Yeah.
But his points were not well taken.
No, they weren't. Speaking of points not well taken, let's go to Herb. Herb is next up on PTL. Hello, Herb.
He was on a
Good
break.
afternoon.
I need to ask you a serious question.
Okay.
Oh boy, that'd be the first time.
Because I don't know the answer to it, or at least I'm not sure of the answer.
Okay, I'll answer anything. Go ahead.
The day of and the day after, I think Charlie Kirk got shot on a Wednesday. Am I correct? It was a Wednesday?
I don't know what day it was, but I know I was on the air when it happened.
Okay, but were you on the radio air?
Yes, I was.
Yes,
On the radio.
about 8 minutes into the show. Yes.
So I will answer Herb's question. Herb, the answer is yes. You could go back and you could listen to the show that I did. It actually happened in real time when I was on the air. So I hope I answered your question. Is there anything else you'd like to ask? And by the way, why are you asking that?
But the reason why I say that is because I tuned into your radio show and I didn't get anything. And I tuned in.
So Herb, let me fill you in.
Listen, it might have been my radio. I'm not saying it's your fault.
It might have been your MAGA radio. So Herb, I'll try to answer your question. Okay.
And the other thing
hold on, Herb. You can ask me another question. Herb, you can ask me. Herb, you can ask me another question. No problem. Just give me a second to answer. Okay. Herb, not only did I talk about it, but it was the entire show. 5 minutes into the show, my producer did a good job in giving me the information. I watched it in real time like everybody else was. I actually got emotional, Herb, and it was a very difficult show to do. You can go back and you can watch it and on YouTube.
You were watching it live, and
so Herb,
it was hard to watch.
I know you're on YouTube, but I was listening on the radio.
Okay, well, we're also on the radio, so I don't know what you mean by that.
I know
Herb.
that, but and that day you were on the radio, right?
I would assume so, unless we had technical issues. Nobody complained to me.
No, that's what I'm saying, Brian. I think you had technical issues.
Okay, Herb, you're wasting our time. Even if that was true, which I don't believe it is. Who cares?
I didn't know if it was me or if it was your radio station.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was, I thought that the reason why they were upset with Jimmy Kimmel was because he came on and he made a comment about the fact that this was MAGA that had him shot. The person that shot Charlie Kirk was MAGA. I thought that's why.
Okay, so
he was being
there's so first of all, he never said MAGA shot Charlie Kirk. Those are not the words that he used. Number two, The joke that he made about Donald Trump, I am told, his lack of mourning is what got the White House extremely upset, and they lied. And they said that he was making jokes about Charlie Kirk's murder, which he never did. Those are lies being put forth, saying that Jimmy Kimmel was celebrating the death. By the way, you're a MAGA Republican. Can you name me one prominent Democrat, just one, that was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk? Because a lot of people on the right lie. When I did the Piers Morgan show, Riley Gaines lied. Can you please quote one person that is a registered Democrat, that is a politician who, quote, celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk? Maybe you can't. I don't know. But I'm just curious.
No, I never. I mean, they said some things that were probably they shouldn't have said, but I don't know if anybody would actually.
Correct. Right. Now, it's your opinion that some people might have said things they shouldn't have said. That's your opinion, which you're entitled to. But what I'm trying to bring up is the fact that there are people on the far right, including Donald Trump and others, that have literally quoted as saying Democrats and elected officials are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I don't agree with Ilhan Omar's comments, but she did not say she celebrated or was gleeful or happy that Charlie Kirk was murdered. The right are lying to you, Herb. They are not.
Listen. I listen to you. I listen to other people. I don't listen to any one station. I listen to CNN, MSNBC. I watch Fox News. I watch them all.
You're making my point.
Brian, I make up my own mind. Really, I do.
Okay, so I'm asking you. I understand. I understand that. But Herb, can you name one prominent Democrat official?
No, I can't.
So why? Okay, I appreciate that. So why?
Not in the context that you're talking about. When you
so why are they saying that then, Herb? That's my point. Will you call out the people on the right, including the President of the United States, that are claiming that Democrats in office are, quote, celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk? Will you call them out for their lies?
Well, I don't need to call them out. You always want somebody to blame somebody.
No, I want somebody to. No.
Idea.
No, Herb, you're making the point. You're making the point for me, Herb. The right never takes accountability for anything. People were up in arms because of Jimmy Kimmel's joke. But yet, so many Republicans out there, including the President of the United States, is lying, and you won't, or you don't want them to take any responsibility for their lies. Why is it that people like you always want the left to apologize? They want Al Franken to be fired because of maybe a borderline inappropriate photo. But when Donald Trump lies about the 2020 election, when he lies about the jobs report that came out, when he fires people because it doesn't help him politically, all the things that Donald Trump does and says and all the things he lies about, and I'm giving you a perfect example right now. There are people on the right, elected officials, Mark Wayne Mullen, Donald Trump, there are many others, even on the Piers Morgan show, I had to deal with this, that are saying that Democrat officials are celebrating his death. The reason why you can't name one is because not one Democrat in office has done that. Yet you're not willing to call it out and say it's wrong. Oh, why should I have to say that? Why? You know what? Because
well, let me ask you this, Brian.
A question. Yeah,
let me ask you this.
Of course.
Are you willing to admit the fact that Jimmy Kimmel's numbers over the last several years have gone way down?
Okay. So I'm going to answer. Are you going to let me answer? Are you going to let me answer? Are you going to let me?
More thing,
oh, no. We do one at a time. No. You don't run the show. I do. One at a time. You're not going to ask me two questions at once. First of all, who the hell cares in context what Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are? Who cares?
It's irrelevant.
Whether his numbers went down or not, and I don't study Jimmy Kimmel's audience numbers, who the hell cares? I asked you about Republicans in office, like the President of the United States lying to the American people. And you care what people say on Twitter about Jimmy Kimmel's numbers? What the hell is wrong with you?
The president was blaming the left before they had any information. They didn't even know who the shooter was or what happened. And he was on TV blaming the left.
Herb, why do you care if people on...
Can I tell you why?
Why do you care if people on social media are talking about his ratings? Who cares?
Brian, listen to me.
I'm listening.
I don't care. However, the Nielsen polls have shown over the last 5 years,
Who cares?
his audience has dropped.
Who cares?
And the
Who cares?
the
Why do you care? Who
sponsors
cares?
do.
But Herb, that could be for a
sponsors.
number of reasons. That could be funding.
Who cares?
That could be
Leonard,
advertising.
hey,
That could be marketing. That could be
All right,
that the station
let's
has other
just
priorities.
say, hold on a second, Herb.
Can I say
Herb, hold on a
something?
second. Hold on a second. Let's just say everything you're saying is correct. Who the F cares? I don't care about his ratings.
How's
The
it relevant?
country doesn't care about his ratings. Either you like the show and you watch, or you don't like the show. That's not relevant, and that's not dangerous. If somebody on social media is saying Jimmy Kimmel's numbers are through the roof, by the way, they were yesterday. What's relevant is that the man who you voted for, which you will not call him out for, because you will not hold the Republicans responsible for anything, saying that elected Democrat officials are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I find that to be far more serious and more dangerous than some people on social media that are lying about Jimmy Kimmel's ratings. Why is it, Herb, as we bring you back up, that you don't understand that?
Wait a minute, Brian, are you potting me down?
Herb, have a nice
Are
day.
you-
You're a waste
are
of my
you-
Herb.
can I
You're a
do
waste. No, Herb, I'm not potting you down. I'm disconnecting you because you're wasting our time and you're an idiot. That's why.
Okay, so what happened was, and I guess Herb doesn't know this, is the ratings that dropped the most were between 18 and 22 for Jimmy Kimmel, okay, over the last few years. But that has a lot to do with social media because the younger people in the 18 to 22 are not really going to TV anymore for their information, for their comedy, because there's so much online content. So like I said to Herb, there's a number of reasons. But how's that relevant to what just happened with the FCC threatening his stations?
Notice how, again, he dodges my question and he says, did you just pod me down? Well, yeah, because you don't shut up and you don't listen to the question and you don't answer anything. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next on PTL. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Brian, I am just like, I'm behind the magas. Following the magas, and I'm just like, holy shit. They just like.
Watch the language. Watch the language.
One excuse, sorry. They just got one excuse after another, don't they? They just like, I'm just like, why don't these people wake up and smell the coffee?
They don't want to wake
You
up.
know, I know. I called to tell you, I haven't got rid of my Hulu yet because I'm waiting till I've got a few days until my bill runs out, and then I'm getting rid of them and then going to YouTube. But I got to notice that they are raising the prices to make up for the money they've lost. So they're raising their prices on Hulu starting in October. So
It wouldn't have happened under Joe Biden. Wouldn't have happened under Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden.
None of this would happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. But Herb and the other two like making excuses, and Herb making excuses that the ratings for Jimmy dropped. So what? That's not the excuse.
Why do these people care? You know, it's like Donald Trump. All he cares about is ratings. He thinks it's a reality show. You're the president of the United
Exactly.
States, you adjudicated sexual abusing moron.
He treats it like a reality
Exactly.
show.
I know. This man has been, now he's going to sue ABC. He said today because he said, I sued him before, got $16 million. Now I'm suing for lying that they were taking him off the air. So now I'm suing for bringing him back. That was his saying today.
That's what Donald Trump.
So
This is what Donald Trump has done, my dear, his entire life. He's used our justice system to go after his enemies. That's not what the justice system is for. Okay, and that's what Donald Trump has done. By the way, I add to that. Donald Trump is a 34-count convicted felon. He's a liable sexual abuser. He's had to pay out thousands of discrimination lawsuits because he didn't want black people living in his properties in Manhattan.
Someone who brags about looking at teenage girls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can go on and on.
On the radio.
Brandon on the YouTube Super Chat says, my man Brian, my man Leonard. I'm so happy to hear we'll see more of Leonard. I think he's such an amazing guy.
Thanks,
I hope
Brandon.
one day to meet you too. Well, I appreciate that.
Who's buying? I need to know.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he's buying the drinks. Yes. Appreciate that, Brandon. Thank you very much for your donation. We certainly appreciate you for that. And Antonio says, Brian, this is no longer the far right saying these things. They've elected him 3 times now. This is the right. This is what they all are. I agree, Antonio, 150%.
I agree.
Yep. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Will. Will is next up on PTL. Hey, Will, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard.
I will.
Listen, just been listening on the show. listening to the show, and I just wanted to really touch a little bit and then just make my point and get off and have you guys talk about it. I mean, these people that are talking that are saying about Jimmy Kimmel's ratings and this and that they've been going down and all this stuff has nothing to do with it. He has 21.2 million subscribers on YouTube. That is humongous in the YouTube
successful
world. The world has changed. It's not, 2, 4, and 7 and 5 and 9 and 11 like it was 40 years ago. These people don't take into account anything that has to do with what's going on today. They want to stick to their one little point, and they want to kill it to death to make their ridiculous point that means nothing when the grand scheme of things, when you really talk intelligently about what's going on.
Well said, Will.
But what I want to really make a point and have you guys talk about was this boob that we have as a president, the fool that he made himself out in United Nations. I can't even tell you how nauseating it was to listen to this man ramble like a moron, like this idiot old grandfather that shouldn't even be at Thanksgiving dinner. It was horrendous.
Their excuse is the teleprompter wasn't working. That's the excuse that the White House is making.
But if he was anything like they praise him to be, he doesn't need he because he's the smartest man on the face of the earth. Yeah. The man is a boob. He's a moron.
Not. Did you hear him try to pronounce acetaminophen? Did you hear him do that? He took him like 3 tries.
He can't even say that.
This is in front of the UN Council. This is in front of the world.
Don't take Tylenol, though. Don't take Tylenol.
And he said, "Yeah, it isn't good if it's good." And
by the way, sir, I disagree with you. I disagree with you respectfully. He's not just a boob. He literally has 2 of them. So. I just wanted to make that very clear. Thank you for the call, my friend. Good call, Will. I appreciate you. 702. According to Stormy Daniels, his boobs are bigger than hers, and that's I don't know. 702-221. I hope she gets back on the Jimmy Kimmel show. By the way, those are always fun when she calls him Mushroom Man. Let's go to Chris. Chris is next up on PTL. Hey, Chris, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing? I just want to give my take on the whole memorial. And I know you don't want to talk about Charlie Kirk, but I feel it must be talked about. What a crazy disrespectful way to think. Because you all know I was against it even having the thing. But you have fireworks, you're doing fundraising. You're pretty much making the man's life politically expedient, but saying that at the same time saying that you actually admire and love the guy. The only thing that came out of there was prominent, even though the first half of her speech was kind of, I guess in this place I'll talk it up as the grieving wife, was his wife saying she forgive the person who killed her husband. And after that, you literally have, who was it? I forget his name, the bald-headed guy, pretty much
Stephen Miller.
Dang there,
and Brian Shapiro.
Could be a Nazi cry almost. Yeah. I mean, it's honestly disgusting work. I mean, what can I say? And for those, the MAGAs, they'll say the left does that also. The what aboutism, like a bot on Twitter, wanting to. Let me put them in check real quick. Wanting reasonable gun control and reform isn't politicized or minimizing this at all. Actually, it's taking a responsible act to this horrible tragedy that doesn't happen to a point. It's become a cycle now, and it is, because once again, one truth remains and one will prevail, and cannot be unchanged. That is indeed the key issue in all of this, that they refuse to answer.
You're right.
We're left yet without a wife and kids, without a father,
yep,
or another family member, and just frivolous thoughts and prayers.
Yep.
No actions that make those thoughts and prayers matter.
No, they'll just attack the radical left. That's all they will do. Thoughts and prayers attack the radical left. But when somebody like Charlie Kirk sadly loses his life, they'll mourn, they'll pray, they'll mourn. The flags are at half staff.
They want to give them the Medal of Freedom.
Yeah. When an innocent black police officer loses his life because of a Donald Trump anti-vaccine lunatic, or when children are mowed down in schools, thoughts and prayers, and that's it. That's who MAGA Republicans are. Let's go to the UK now. Let's go to Paul. Paul, what's going on?
Hi there, Brian. Hi there, Leonard. Hi, thanks for taking the call. just from a UK perspective, by the way, our papers are reporting properly on the UN speech. They're calling him deranged. But just how screwed up at the moment American politics is, you've got all this stuff to talk about, and yet you haven't even got to that Tom Homan thing yet. Now, in any
50 grand in a bag,
Release the files. That's what I say on the Tom Homan thing. Release the Tom Homan files immediately.
He says he never broke the law. He says he never broke the law because they dropped the case. That doesn't mean he never broke the law. It means that people covered up for him. Release the tape. Let's see it.
Yeah, well, they claim he did. What's the name? The press secretary,
Caroline, the lying liar Levette. Yeah.
Oh God, what an awful girl. Anyway, she says, "Oh, he didn't take the money." Okay, well, show the video of him not taking the money, because he clearly was offered the money because she admitted it.
She did. She admitted that the meeting took place, and she denied that anything was there was no money exchange, but she kind of said, yeah, there was a meeting, and yeah, he was there. She admitted to it.
So release the tape. It's the same reason why they
he was under suspicion. That's for sure.
Let me be very clear. It's very clear. The reason why they won't release the tape is the same reason why they won't release the Epstein files. Yes, it would be bad for Tom Homan, but it would also be bad for Donald Trump because they are both guilty. That's why.
Look, Brian, I think I said this to you before. Why doesn't Trump release his school records? Because he's as thick as a brick. That's why.
And remember his tax returns? He didn't want to release his tax returns.
Why doesn't he release his tax returns? Because he's a cheating businessman. He's not. Now he is, but then he wasn't as rich as he said he is. Why didn't he release his medical records? Because he's a walking mummy falling to pieces.
Can I ask Paul a question? Paul, can I ask you a question? I know you don't speak for the entire UK, but you seem to be a pretty level-headed guy. What do you think how do you think the UK views Trump? Do you think that he's an embarrassment to America? Do they like him as U.S. president? What do they honestly think?
I would say 75% of Brits think he's an absolute buffoon and an embarrassment to America, and can't believe it's happened. But we've always had a fascist element in Britain. We had Mosley in the war. But ultimately, the way Britain has always been is that they've overcome their inner demons as a country, and we've risen up against fascism. Hence, why we were the first country to voluntarily enter World War II, 2 years ahead of America.
Do you think it was embarrassing when he was at the UN that he trashed the other countries?
Oh my God!
Said, you guys are all going to hell, and had nothing good to say about all of our friends?
Just horrific. It's the worst. And you know what? I wonder, presuming that it's, say, Stephen Miller who wrote the speech, is he trying to embarrass Trump?
It could be. It could be. Because that guy's nuts.
I can't think why you'd write that speech. It was the most ridiculous speech. And Trump, he's so stupid, he read it out.
He was taking credit for ending wars. And if you fact check it, they contacted India and Pakistan, and they said, no, he had nothing to do with it. The Congo conflict, which he said he solved, wasn't even ongoing. It's been there forever, but there was no active war between the two and no war declared. So as you go down the line, how embarrassing is it that he's asking for the peace prize? He's asking for himself. Yeah,
it's crazy. Hey, Paul, before we let you go, with the accent, I like it when you say he's sick as a brick. Can you just say that? More? Sick as a brick. Can you say that again? I like it.
Well, he's as thick as a brick. But if you know English bands, I know you're a music buff, Brian.
Yes.
You'll know there's a band, almost an underground band of almost medieval rock called Jethro Tull, and one of their most famous albums is called "Sick as a Brick."
Oh, well then there you go.
Yeah, I have another
one long poem.
I know there's another name they use in the UK for him, but we can't say it on the air.
Okay,
but a lot of people are using it.
With your accent, this is for Pierce Morgan. You know, me and Pierce are tight, right? Can you please say in your accent that Pierce Morgan has Trump fellatio syndrome? Can you say that?
Well, we suppose he wouldn't say anything, but Pierce Morgan does have Trump fellatio syndrome. He really does.
I got one for you. How about this, Paul? With your accent, say Brian Shapiro has the best podcast, pushing the limits, and there is no better.
Well, I don't have to pay him to say that.
I'm going to say it. Brian Shapiro has the best podcast, Pushing the Limits, and there is no better.
How's that for a clip?
I would say your check is in the
There you
mail.
go.
I would say your check is in the mail, but I lost it all at the craps tables the other day.
And who's the best co-host
Yeah.
ever in the history of radio?
That's going too far.
Who's the best co-host?
I'm not trusting you.
That's going too far, Leonard. We can't. You got to at least be here more than once a week first. Okay, it's going way too far.
Paul Lance.
Yeah, there you go.
Paul.
There we go.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Mr. Paul from the UK. Thank you so much for the phone call.
Thanks,
It's always
Paul.
good to
That
hear
was
from
fun.
you, my
Thank
friend.
you, guys.
All right.
Thank you for taking the call. Thank you.
I love
Bye.
it. Trumplatio syndrome. God, I love that.
That was.
I'm going to
talk about clips. Oh my God.
I think Pierce Morgan does.
Oh, you gotta tag
He's got to have a sense of humor on that. That was funny. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. I believe Peter's next on PTL. Hey, Peter, what's up?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard.
Hey, Peter.
Leonard for governor, by the way.
Hey, that's 37.
37 votes. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Hey, Brian, I wanted to ask you.
That's more votes than Vivek Ramaswamy got. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Or John Lee.
I wanted to ask you, Brian, a little bit about Austin Broughton.
Yes.
And the Enough America tour that you're on.
Yes.
So I guess like a two-part question, more in particular to him and in the future, I guess. How do you, when you're debating someone like this, how do you take him seriously when he starts doing his Trump and Obama impersonations mid-debate and expects you to kind of carry on? I mean, you did great. It's like, me personally, during the debate and watching you, like, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm like, is this guy really doing this in the middle of the debate? Second question, part two of that is this what the right is going to be producing for the next 10 to 15 years because of Trump? These characters that are just super unserious about what is going on in the world?
Well, the answer is yes, because look at Donald Trump's administration. Literally, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in charge of our health. Literally, we have idiots like Kash Patel, who I wouldn't even hire to be a crossing guard, to be leading the FBI.
He might see more than two lines.
Yeah, I mean, Pam Bondi. Can you find a more nitwit moron than Pam Bondi? And then Caroline Leavitt, who is somebody who literally lies for a living up there when you look at his entire administration. Now, to answer your first question, I will say I was a little taken back when I'm about to have, at least trying to have, a serious debate about politics and somebody does a Donald Trump impersonation. That would be like me trying to have a very intelligent debate with the Alex Jones impersonator, who, by the way, did a very good job yesterday.
He was funny as hell.
People thought it was Alex
He did,
Jones.
yeah.
And I have some news for the PTL listeners out there. We are going to get Alex Jones and Donald Trump on the line at once. Okay.
Oh no, that would be.
I just lost my neck
epic.
chain. Did you see that? That was the deep state. My neck chain just
You
fell
mentioned
off.
those two names together, and your necklace fell
Look
off.
at that. My neck chain fell off. Anyway, thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next on PTL. What's up, Dave?
Hey, what's up? What's up, Brian? What's up, Leonard?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, where does Leonard get his haircut? So perfect, man. I understand that.
I
He's got a
refuse to
perfect
pay
haircut.
for an expensive haircut, so I go to Supercuts.
I thought it was fake. I thought he had Donald Trump hair transplants.
And there's a girl there, it's Samantha, who's been cutting my hair for quite a while, and she is the best in town. Only $25. Can't beat that.
Yeah, they're not advertising on the
Not
show,
bad.
though, so I'm not going to praise it. I'm just kidding. What's on your mind today, Dave?
So first thing, I won $1,000 in bingo last night.
Nice.
So that's good.
How do you win $1,000 in bingo? Like, where are you playing bingo, at a casino?
No, they have bingo halls. There's about maybe 8 of them here in Sacramento.
So you're a serious
there's a lot of-
high stakes bingo player.
So he's headed
I
to the
love it
Super
because
Chat,
you know
right?
why? I would rather spend. Well, here's my drift. You know, casinos are a cash grab, but bingos are not, because if I play $125 for 26 times to win at least 1,500, I would lose only $125. But if I go to a casino, I would lose $500 in 15 minutes. You follow me?
Wow, this is some gambler.
You know, I'd rather lose
math
$100. You know, so you know what I'm saying. So I got this thing down. So basically, I'm tired of doing your super chat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do your membership every month. So I'm gonna be a member on your membership.
Well,
instead.
that's very nice
So-
of you. I appreciate
Nice.
that. Thank
So,
you.
But
Great,
my
Dave.
other point, I'll do that after the show because I'm working. But I'm going to tell you right now, the reason why he really doesn't want the Nobel Peace Prize. He really doesn't want it because you know what? He wants the $1.3 million that goes with the monetary award that goes with the Peace Prize. He wants that money.
course
when
he
you
does.
get that Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
So he really doesn't care about the Nobel Peace Prize. He just wants the money because you get that when you get the
well,
Peace Prize.
thank you, Dave. I appreciate you. I would give him the Noble Clan hood. That's what I would give him. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Dave is a very loud typer, by the way. Dave, I hear you're typing in the background. You're you're showing your anger in your typing. I don't know. Did you hear that? That was very loud typing.
I couldn't hear it too well because I'm I have these
Oh,
earbuds in, so it wasn't.
Must have been made in China.
He must have been at work.
Perhaps.
Get back to work.
I love the fact that
Do you
people
think
are
it
watching my show that are working. Please tell your bosses all of their employees should be watching my show. It'll make their day go by much smoother, especially if they have to deal with MAGA idiots in the office. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Let's see here. Let's go to Scott. Scott is next up on PTL. Hey, Scott, what's up?
I have to share some shame with you today. I was born in Queens, New York. I've been morbidly obese most of my life. I used to speak without thinking, and I didn't care what anyone thought about what I spoke. I had an opinion for everybody, and the shame is that that part of me is a lot like Donald Trump. When I was fat, I had a body odor I couldn't get rid of. And I didn't care what anyone thought about my body odor. And I'm grateful to say today I'm not that way. I'm about 260 pounds. I do care. And I was trying to make you laugh. I hope you took that as a joke. But not that what I said about me is the truth. But
I've heard Donald Trump has some of the worst BO that you could ever. And I don't know, maybe Brendan Carr will take me off the air for saying that. I know that I'm really going over the line
moving
here.
away from him.
Yeah.
And like holding.
He smells so bad that his wife doesn't even want to be in the same area code, let alone the same bed. Honestly, be honest. Honestly, how long do you think it's been since Donald Trump and the First Lady have had intercourse? Be honest. How long do you think it's been?
10 years.
No, I
how
think
old
more.
is Barron?
Yeah, however old Barron is. By the way, I heard that was artificial
19.
insemination. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. But if there's anybody that has the BO and who's morbidly obese, it's definitely Donald Trump.
You want to know what's worse though? What's worse is everywhere when I'm heavy like that, everywhere I go, I have crap stains in my underwear.
Oh wow. Well, it sounds like you also. It sounds like you might have the MAGA herpes.
What do you think? What do you think, Scott, of Donald Trump's ankles? Do you think that's an indication of a more serious condition?
It's called cankles.
He has gigantic. They don't even fit in the shoes.
It's the only part of his body that is large.
I do have swelling in my ankles, so I do have legitimate issues that I'm trying to figure out.
Well, we're not talking
right now,
about you, but we can mock Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe we'll get suspended. I don't know.
I try not to think about his ankles.
Yeah, maybe get suspended, come back on and go into millions.
Trust me when I say this, there is no woman in this country, well, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace, but there's no other woman in this country that's thinking about any of Donald Trump's body parts. I'll tell you that. It's certainly not Melania Trump. I guarantee on that one.
Boy, do we digress.
Yes. Let's go to Damon. Damon is next on PTL. What's up, Damon?
Hey, what's up, Brian? I'm trying to figure out what part of Ilhan Omar's comments you didn't like.
So I personally believe, this is my personal opinion, that Ilhan Omar has a history of saying incendiary things that people could possibly take the wrong way. It is my personal opinion that if you're not voting for, and I don't blame them, voting for Charlie Kirk to make some national day of it, I agree with them on that. And if they're defending their voting record on it, I applaud them for doing so, and I don't have a problem with that.
Didn't she call him a hateful man? I think that's what
but
she
I
said.
do believe that days after his assassination, if you're an elected official, and we know that Ilhan Omar has had death threats, I don't think it's the right time to make statements like that. That is my personal opinion. Now, she wasn't gleeful, and she wasn't celebrating his murder. I want to be very clear on that. But I thought Ilhan Omar's comments were a little bit over the line considering the timing of it.
Yeah, it was still an open wound.
Yeah.
Emotional.
It's one thing if you want to make those statements now, but I thought the timing of it was a little bit irresponsible on her part. But very clearly put, she did not celebrate his death. So while I thought it was, I thought it was a little bit too soon to say what she said.
Brian, It might have not have been too soon, but it was the exact right thing to say. She said, I am not celebrating his death, but I will not celebrate his life either.
I don't have a problem with that statement.
And she said he was a hateful man, which I
don't
happen to agree
either.
with.
I think that's perfect. I think that's exactly how I feel, Brian. But I have been listening, Brian, to you and other people. Try to find something good in this evil man. I keep hearing you say
no
something
one,
like,
no one's,
no, Brian,
Damon, no one's
let me
trying
finish,
to find good.
Brian.
That was Leonard.
No, yes, you are. Let me finish. If I can finish, you will get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what you said was, over and over again, all week long, Charlie Kirk participated in political discourse.
He did say that.
Am I right?
Well, he did. Yeah, he did.
No, he did not, Brian.
He did.
Because the thing was, anytime you come into a debate or you come into a discussion and you give fake facts, you give false statistics, and you omit information.
I'm not saying
you are not giving. No,
okay,
Brian.
Hold
he
on,
did
Damon.
that every
Hold
time.
on,
That's
Damon.
not
Damon.
Discourse. That's political.
Okay, so
theater.
Damon, hold on a second. So the one thing that I did have in common with Charlie Kirk, and it probably is the only thing, is he wanted to have discussions with people that disagree with him. Now, I didn't agree with the way he did it. I didn't agree with the fact that he seemed to only want to debate a bunch of unprepared 18 and 19-year-olds on college campuses. I don't think that he was a good debater. I'm not praising him for that. But the one thing I did give him credit for is I think it takes a little bit of guts. Even though he was a man filled with hate, I've been very clear on that, and I've never said anything to defend him. I thought he was a very, very bad person. I've said that over and over and over again. I also say he did not deserve to be murdered. However, one thing I do appreciate that he did, even though he didn't debate everyone, and he certainly didn't debate people that were older than him and people, for the most part, that were more prepared, but he did want people that disagreed with him to ask him questions. Now, you might not have liked, and I didn't like the way he debated. You might not have liked, and I didn't like what he stood for. But when I say political discourse, nonviolent political discourse, which I think is something that everybody in America should be for, I didn't like the way he debated. I didn't think he was a good debater. I thought he was a pretty bad guy. I've said that since day one.
We have to talk to each other, Brian. That's just the bottom line. And political or not, you have to reach out to other people and you have to open. And I think what Brian is saying is he would love to sit somewhere and have a few thousand people and invite people to come up and prove him wrong or disagree with him in an intelligent way. And I would agree that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Let's go to Amelia. Amelia is next up on PTL. Hi, Amelia.
You can't cut me off, right?
Uh-oh. What just happened?
Uh-oh. You cut him off. Oh, hello.
I don't think Damon was happy with me. Let's go to Amelia.
Well, no
Amelia.
one cut him off. We have stuff to say, so we say it.
Yeah. Well, I was responding to what he said. Hey, Amelia, what's going on?
Well, you cut him off. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Hey, listen, y'all. It's been a little bit. Anyway, got moved and everything. Took a break off the internet. Had to do it. Mentally, whatever else. But even to the previous caller, just a prior caller, and everybody, as a veteran and so forth, and so much talk about the First Amendment. We just had a vice president come out and say this whole issue out here in Dallas and whatever else, and was talking about a conviction that took place or whatever, and blaming one cop, for an issue and whatever, and that just like set the ground. Well, we know he was talking about Chauvin, and we know he was talking about George Floyd. So he brought that in today and everything else. So with everything I've watched and rewatched the last couple of, nights, let this just be a warning. And let this just be, all of this about freedom of speech.
Can I add something to what you just said? Because you had mentioned George Floyd, my dear.
Yeah.
And George Floyd was obviously murdered. You hear a lot of people that are saying he was a bad guy. He was this. He did not deserve to die. The big difference was he was murdered by law enforcement, which makes it, in my opinion, even worse. Do I think George Floyd should be celebrated as some sort of hero? No. But but the type of person he is.
He's a victim,
right, exactly.
unfortunately.
And unfortunately, Charlie Kirk was a victim as well. I'm not trying to compare the two. All I'm simply saying is we should all be able to agree as Americans. George Floyd was murdered by law enforcement, and Charlie Kirk was murdered by a nut job 22-year-old. That is the circumstance of both here. Whether you agreed or liked George Floyd, whether you agreed or you liked Charlie Kirk, the point of the matter is that two Americans were murdered, one by law enforcement.
And this is where people really need to get educated and understand about freedom of speech. Where freedom of speech draws its line and where it is against the law, okay, is when you incite violence.
That's one of the criteria.
When you speak, okay? That is the criteria in our laws and in our freedom of speech. If you want to incite violence, if you want to go out there like yourself, okay, you're not regulated by the FCC. You're an independent radio station.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Right. Exactly. So our world is changing.
And hate speech is not illegal.
Unfortunately, right. Yeah, it isn't. But unfortunately, this is where misinformation and crap has just messed up. You know, I'm a proud 80s chick as a veteran.
Thank you for your
And
service,
what
by the way.
has happened is just heartbreaking to see these kids that are in their teens and in their early 30s. I have run across people in their 30s, like, I don't know who to talk to. Or like what? They can't talk to their family. You know, it's not because of the separation of speech, because we're not teaching it correctly. And
Well,
I'm not
I think that's what the last caller was saying, Emilio. The last caller was saying that, was asking Brian, thinking that he compliments Charlie Kirk, and he never said that. What he said was, you have to have open discourse. I don't disagree with that. It's okay to sit down with people you disagree with and have some open. And if that's your family or your friends, I have family members who are still mad at me for voting for Kamala Harris. Yeah. And
Listen,
that's my family.
And going back to Damon's call real quickly, if I may, I've never praised Charlie Kirk.
Never.
I've only said the one thing I had in common with him is I want to have debate with people that I disagree with. Now, you might not like the way Charlie Kirk debated, and I don't either. I think Charlie Kirk was cowardly in his debates. What I mean by that is he only seemed to debate a bunch of unprepared 18 and 19-year-old liberals. However, he still went to college campuses all over the country and wanted people that disagreed with him to go to the front of the line. That part I did like. I don't like anything he stood for. I don't like the way he debated. I thought he was disingenuous. The list goes on and on and on.
What he started changed things.
Yeah.
Look at colleges. You're going to be going on the UNF America tour, and you're going to sit down, and you're probably going to open little, I don't know what they call them, little offices at the colleges, UNF America tour, and have debates and have rallies and people coming there. So he did do some good where he broke the mold on being able to reach out to college students and have some open debate when you completely disagree. And like you said, Brian, his facts were not accurate. He would just say, well, did you know 27,000% of Democrats don't like this and that? And there's no way to fact check him in real time.
That's true.
Because nobody has that in their back pocket.
Yep, that's true. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Brandon. Brandon is next up on PTL. Let's go, Brandon.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Oh, what I have to say about this is, my main point is, sorry about this incident about is that Mr. Kirk or any side of it, it doesn't matter what political side you are, is that it's sad that mental health is that, and resolutions aren't being solved in this country, which could have prevented this incident.
Okay, so Brandon, I agree. Brandon, I agree with you, but hang on the line here for a second. Which do you think is the party that wants to do something about guns getting in the hands of the wrong people? And which is the party that seems to ignore it and vote against it?
I would agree that in a sense, is that Republicans want to keep guns, but we do need reforms, though. That's the way I say it.
So I agree with you, but here's the problem that we are facing as a country, and we've faced this for decades, way before Donald Trump got into office. You have one party that brags about their A+ rating from the NRA, and after any violent shooting, unless it's Charlie Kirk, they say thoughts and prayers, let's move on. Bad guy with a gun, a good guy with a gun is going to beat a bad guy with a gun. Their arguments are more guns make us safer, which obviously is not true. Brandon, that's one of the reasons why I get so frustrated with people that voted for Donald Trump. It's why I get so frustrated with people that today call themselves MAGA Republicans. Every time there's a mass shooting, I hear thoughts and prayers, and these Republicans have no solutions. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that Democrats say when it comes to gun control. I don't agree with everything. I believe everyone has the right to bear arms if you're not a felon and you're not mentally ill. But when MAGA Republicans always talk about we need to do something about the mentally ill, look at all the bills that they vote against that would allocate more money to help people that are mentally ill. How about 15 million people losing their Medicaid?
DOJ just removed the funding
for
all of that.
15 million people are going to lose their medical coverage. Many of those people, sadly, are mentally ill. You think that's going to help this country? It's going to make it worse when it comes to gun violence.
60,000 employees cut from the Veterans Administration.
Would you agree with that, Brandon?
Is that, on that note, is that I would agree with it partly, but I also agree that if both sides work together.
How can both sides work together?
One side doesn't want to work at all. They don't even think there needs to be any gun reform.
Brandon, respectfully, I disagree with you. After the Sandy Hook shooting, Barack Obama was the president of the United States. He tried to do everything to get Republicans to come to the table and bargain with him when it came to gun control. A bunch of 8 and 9-year-old kids were basically decapitated. And Brandon, guess what happened? Republicans wouldn't let him pass anything. Democrats did everything they could. When Joe Biden was president, the most comprehensive gun reform, bipartisan in decades. But obviously it wasn't enough because Republicans don't want to do anything. Brandon, again, respectfully, I disagree with you. I think it's disingenuous to say, well, Republicans and Democrats need to just come to the table when Republicans don't want to do anything, or if they do come to the table, they want to make it easier for people to get their hands on guns. So, Brandon, I blame one side of the aisle. Listen, I can blame both sides of the aisle for a lot of problems in this country, maybe the border for being one. But I'm not going to talk about gun control and blame both sides. Democrats have been doing everything they can, and Republicans will not work with them, Brandon. You have to know that. It's very important.
Is that on that? Is that in a way I do agree with you, but my main point, and it's nothing disingenuous, I do agree with you, is that my main point is that I was just hoping is that provide that money for more mental rehabilitation centers. It's nothing against gun laws.
Yeah, but the Republicans won't do it. They won't.
Brandon.
In fact, DOJ made cuts to mental illness. They took the money. There is no money to research mental illness and to figure out what the problem is. The Democrats want to at least go to the problem. Let's find out what's going on. Let's put some legislation forward. And not only are the Republicans not agree, they pulled the funding for what exists.
Yeah. Brandon, we agree, okay, what you're saying about mental illness. I agree with you, but here's the part that you're not saying. Yes, we should allocate more money to helping those people that are mentally ill. But it's impossible to do when Republicans are in charge of the House and the Senate, and they keep blocking bills and voting against bills that would do exactly what you say they should do. There's one party to blame for this.
And they claim they love veterans, but they don't.
Right.
Because they pulled 60,000 people have been pulled from the Veterans Administration Authority, and a large portion of that are doctors and nurses and mental health people that were helping the veterans.
Brandon, I agree
That's
with you.
The Republicans who did that.
Let me ask you a question, Brandon. Of the 15 million plus people that are going to lose their Medicaid, you would agree with me that there is a percentage of those people that are very mentally ill. What do you think is going to happen to those people when they don't get the health care that they need? Brandon, what do you think is going to happen to those people?
I do agree, and man, they're just going to lose any. Is that not just their health benefits, but anything to pay for all?
And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Which party?
I believe it's both sides' fault.
No, with respect, sir, who passed the big and beautiful bill? Who created it and who passed it? The Democrats or the Republicans?
I think a little bit of both.
No, not true.
No, what about DOJ?
No, hold on a second. Brandon, what you said is not true. The big and beautiful bill was passed because of Republicans, not Democrats. What you're saying is not factually accurate.
And it barely passed.
And in the big and beautiful bill, more than 15 million Americans are going to lose their health care coverage. Brandon, this is where I get frustrated. I agree with you that we need to do more to help the mentally ill, but it seems like you're complicit because you don't seem to understand why. Republicans take away Medicaid from more than 15 million people, which means many people that are mentally ill, who I agree with you, should never get their hands on guns and they need to get help. They're going to get their hands on guns because of MAGA Republicans that helped pass this bill. That has nothing to do with Democrats. They voted against it. Brandon, you have to know that this is really important.
The Republicans are not interested in helping the mentally ill.
That's not the Democrats' fault.
That's just a fact.
Yeah, but you're blaming both sides. What did the Democrats do wrong to pass this big and beautiful bill? What did the Democrats do? Why would you blame the Democrats?
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying is that all Democrats is that denied the bill and stuff. I'm just saying both sides, Republican and Democrat, a little bit of both of them, with the ones that were against it, is that should be held responsible.
Against
for
what?
Denying.
I don't understand. Democrats against what? What
against gun control?
What are you saying?
In essence, my main point is whether Republican, the certain individual ones, and I do agree with you, and the Democratic ones, is that the ones that voted no on what you were saying about is that providing people with Medicaid and stuff.
Brandon, why are we getting?
They should be held accountable for.
I agree with you.
He just thinks both sides.
Brandon,
you think both sides are accountable, and you could, in my opinion, you couldn't be more wrong. You couldn't be more inaccurate because the Democrats have made every effort to try to limit how many guns, limit ammunition, limit how big the magazines are. They've tried to put restrictions, universal background checks, holding gun store owners accountable. That's all on the Democrat side.
Brandon, let's
There's
start
not
from
a
square
Republican
one.
that wants any of that.
As Leonard eloquently pointed out, and I agree with everything he said. Brandon, can you name me one specific reason why you would say Democrats are partially responsible for why we can't pass comprehensive, gun laws and reform and newer laws on the books? Can you give me one logical reason why you would blame Democrats for that? Because you're blaming both sides. Give me one specific reason why you would say that. What have Democrats done wrong when it comes to gun control?
I would say on the gun control thing is that mostly nothing wrong, but the issue I see, the only slight issue with the Democrats is you have people, certainly, that come from other countries on the black market that come through it in and nobody checks them and are in is that these democratic cities when they check in. Now, a regular citizen, even especially a minority one, they get checked through so much. But
so you're blaming all the gun violence. You're blaming a lot of the gun violence in this country on undocumented immigrants that cross the border illegally. What? Is that your position?
I'm not just saying undocumented immigrants. I'm just saying in general is that it doesn't have to be south of the border, but anybody that's mostly foreign that comes into that country, and that doesn't just mean south of the border.
Yeah,
is trading is that cartels? Is that illegal?
So Brandon,
conflating two different issues.
So Brandon, let me ask you a question. Who was the person that killed 61 people in Las Vegas? Was that an undocumented immigrant?
It was a Caucasian guy.
Okay, thank you.
Where did he get the gun?
Thank you. Oh, no. You were talking about foreigners. Who was the person who was responsible for shooting Charlie Kirk? Was that an undocumented immigrant? Was that a foreigner? Who was the person that did the shooting in the Buffalo? Who was the person that did the shooting in the El Salvador, in the Texas Walmart? Who was the person who did this mass shooting in this Minnesota school? Who was the person who killed the elected Democrat and her husband in Minnesota? Who are the shooters in Columbine? In fact, who are all these school shooters? Are they foreigners?
No.
Okay, so why are we talking about that? The biggest mass shootings in this country are happening from mostly white, Caucasian, 20-something men. They're not undocumented immigrants. I don't know why you're bringing that up, Brandon. I appreciate the phone call, but Democrats are not the reason why we have all the gun violence in this country. Besides the people that commit the crimes, it's because Republicans care more about their A+ rating from the NRA than protecting us. That is what it comes down to. I don't know why you get into the weeds on this issue.
It sounds like he was trying to split everything down the middle, but Joe Biden, just for the record, did pass gun new gun laws, saying he was encouraging states and giving incentives that if they would have a red flag law. He also said he changed it so you can petition the court to remove weapons from people deemed a threat to themselves or others. That's a law that he passed. So I think Brandon was just kind of trying to blame both sides. Maybe he's a MAGA and wants to say that we were responsible, but the Democrats have made the effort. Obama, the same thing.
Listen, Leonard, I don't know if it's because I'm tired today or you're in the studio, but normally I would completely lose my patience with somebody like that. That was very difficult.
Well, he was very draining.
That was tough. 702-221-7283. Let's see, who do we got here? Let's go to John. John is next up on PTL. Hi, John.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Hi, John.
I'm calling in. I've been a Democrat my whole life, and I really can't believe how brainwashed these people are.
What do you think that says about America?
Oh man, Americans are in trouble. They get brainwashed by these Fox noise and all this. It's unbelievable.
John, I agree. I think Fox News is a big part of the problem. Mama Lisa on the YouTube super chat says, I'm here for it as long as you keep speaking truth. I love this channel. Mama Lisa, I appreciate your support of the show and your donation. Thank you very much. You could also donate on pushingthelimits.live. Again, if you go to pushingthelimits.live, you're supporting independent media. We sell gear, T-shirts, hats, and you could also make donations, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford.
Bibles? Not selling Bibles?
No, I do not sell Brian Shapiro Bibles. Maybe we can get Lee Greenwood on the show, and maybe we can work something out and have them made in China for $2 and then sell them for $60. Maybe there's something.
And add the Constitution in the back just in case people want to conflate their religion with their rights.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do that. So Lee Greenwood, if you're listening, Mr. One Hit Wonder, give me a call. Let's go to Tez. Tez is next on PTL. What's up, Tez?
Brian, you can always count on me to call in with empirical facts, and that's one of the reasons why I love to see you on Pierce Morgan's show.
Thank you.
But let me just cut through all the muck and give you the numbers.
Okay.
Mitt Romney, number one taker of NRA money, $13.6 million. Tom Tillis, Republican, $5.6 million. Joni Ernst, Republican, $3.6 million. Marco Rubio, $3.3 million. Todd Young, $2.9 million. Bill Cassidy, $2.8. And I'll go on and on, but the top 10 takers of NRA blood money are all on the Republican side of the aisle. It's an empirical fact. I don't know why the NRA has kind of like fallen out of grace from the media. In years gone by, whenever there was a mass shooting, people would start talking about smart gun laws and background checks. But disproportionately, the Republicans are taking the NRA blood money, just so that your callers know.
Well, the NRA is,
as usual, my brother,
unreasonable activist group. That's why the NRA is getting a bad rap. That's why. They have no reason. They don't look anything reasonably and say we need to do something.
Sure, Leonard. But listen, when people call in like your previous callers who are not informed, who sound like they're on the fence about who's disproportionately responsible for stopping smart gun legislation, it's on the right-hand side of the aisle, guys.
Oh, there's no question. Thank you. You've never heard a Democrat running for office bragging about their A+ rating from the NRA. In fact, it's the opposite. They usually brag about their F rating from the NRA. You're right. This is blood money. All MAGA Republicans that have accepted money from the NRA, in my opinion, are responsible.
And they're never going to give up that money.
Yeah, no question. Let's go to Julie. Julie's next up on PTL. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
You're on, Julie.
Okay, my phone broke up on me. I am speechless that Trump would even try to blame Tylenol for autism. I'm mind blown, and I'm mad. Because Tylenol and any other drug or any injection, nothing creates autism except for genes.
Well, let's be very clear. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is off his rocker. He is bat-you-know-what crazy. The Tylenol press conference that they held the other day was like a scene from some conspiracy theory movie some nightmare.
But you know what's no one said, Brian and Julie? No one in the news has said that RFK promised to have a solution to autism in September. Do you guys remember that?
Yep.
And it was only 3 months ago.
Yep.
And I believe that the whole Tylenol thing was just to say that we promised we were going to tell you something in September, and so we did. I think it was a red herring, and I think it's dangerous, and there's no causational scientific link between Tylenol and pregnancy that we know of.
It's absolutely ridiculous that these are actually people that are in these powerful positions making these ridiculous statements.
It's crazy watching them on TV.
It's dangerous. It's crazy.
Thanks for bringing that up, Julie.
Yeah, no, it's important. Well, Leonard, thanks for being here. It
was fun.
Another good show. And will we see you here tomorrow?
Anybody lined up for tomorrow yet?
Not yet.
Not
well,
yet?
just you. No, I'm working on a couple big guests for tomorrow, and I just got to get them confirmed. But this has been a crazy few weeks. It's been an emotional roller coaster ride. I know people want to call in and they still want to chime in about Charlie Kirk, and I respect that. And I'll try to entertain it. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not thinking about time to move on from it. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be calling out political violence. I will always do that. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be talking about gun control.
We got First Amendment rights worried about, Fifth and Sixth due process.
Of course.
The 14th against search and seizure. Those are important topics.
No doubt. But if you're looking for somebody to honor Charlie Kirk, I'm not the show for you to listen to because I ain't going to be doing that.
And you never did. And I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah,
today.
I never have. I've said it's terrible. It's bad for the country. It's terrible that he was murdered. I feel for his family, but
you can relate to him on social discourse between people that disagree.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I mean, I don't defend anything that Charlie Kirk stood for, and I said that on Piers Morgan last week, and I've said that since day one. Call Me Little Sunshine with a donation says independent media networks need to hold their own convention. That would be amazing. Well, that's something that I would certainly be interested in doing, Mr. Sunshine or Mrs. Sunshine. I appreciate your donation. But that is why I have decided to travel all over the country, and I was invited to do so with the Un-F America Tour people, me along with Destiny and Robbie Roadsteamy and others. I'm honored to do so.
I can't wait to see how that goes.
And I'll be broadcasting live at these events, and Leonard will be in studio holding the fort, and we will do the show on the road. Leonard, thank you for being here, and the audience is now holding you to that. You're going to be here 3 days a week. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I appreciate it. We'll be back at you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout.